Okay, we've completed your exemption listing. Now we're going to go to Schedule D, which is a listing of all your secured claims. So what is a secured claim? Well, anyone that has a mortgage, we call it a mortgage here in Missouri. Actually, the document is going to be called a deed of trust. But anyone who has a mortgage on any of your real estate, they are a secured lender. Also, anyone that has a claim that they have filed on any of your personal property. You may have an auto lender, most people do, and that lender, his name, the company's name, shows up on the title to your vehicles, your boats, your motorcycles, anything that's titled. Your mobile home, your registration. You may have a lender on your mobile home. Those are all secured lenders. Now, a secured lender that you may not think of, but we're nevertheless going to list it. Let's say that you had a credit card, and the credit card company filed a collection lawsuit against you and took a judgment. If that judgment became final, and if you'll watch the entirety of this tutorial, you'll pick up the distinction, but if they have what's called a final judgment, then your credit card company, even though they were originally an unsecured lender, that judgment is the equivalent of a mortgage on your residence. Now, we can cancel that in most instances in Chapter 7 or 13, but we're going to list that within Exhibit D. We're going to list all your mortgage and secured loans. Now, let's look at some of the columns here. On your account number, this is the first one where we've listed any of your debts. Throughout your petition, we are only going to list the last 4 digits of any debt you have on the account number. We're always going to indicate whether you have a co-debtor. We're going to put down what kind of a debt it is. Do you owe it? Does your wife owe that debt, or do you owe it together? There's different types of legal ownership that we need to give indication to, and I'll point that out in the video that I make available to my clients. The date the claim was incurred and the nature of the lien. We'll fill all that out. The next 3 columns: contingent, unliquidated, or disputed. If you don't think you owe it, then we're going to, of course, click the box disputed. Now, in a Chapter 7, where your unsecured creditors aren't going to get anything anyway, it's in most instances not going to be important, but we nonetheless want it to be accurate. Amount of claim without deducting value of collateral. If your home, for example, is worth $100,000, then we'd put down $100,000, or the amount that you owe on it if it's $100,000. And let's say that you do owe $100,000 on your home, but your home is only worth $80,000. So you're underwater $20,000. Well, in that last column, unsecured portion, if any, we would, in the example I just gave you, we'd put down $20,000. And then we're going to total it down at the bottom. And it would be unusual if we had continuation sheets for real estate. Now, here's the one. You remember up above where in a previous video, I mentioned that you're going to claim all your exemptions and protect your assets. Well, here's the other thing that gives you a tremendous amount of protection. For every secured loan that you have, whether it's your mortgage on your home, the money that you owe on your automobile, your boat, your motorcycle, whatever kind of a collateral security agreement you've got, within the statement of intention, every secured loan that you have, we are item by item going to tell in the petition what you're going to do with that particular loan. So let's say property number 1 is your residence. Well, down below we're probably going to put reaffirm the debt. Reaffirm is you're going to keep the debt. After we file your bankruptcy petition, you and I and the lender are going to sign a reaffirmation agreement where you keep the debt. Now, it's not up to your lender whether he does or doesn't want to do the reaffirmation agreement. If you and your wife want to do the reaffirmation, then that's the way it's going to be. Redeem the property. If you'll read and listen to the videos, you'll know that in certain property, you can buy the property for much less than what might be owed on it. You can buy for what it's worth. So if that's the case, you're going to redeem the property. You might want to surrender the property. Maybe you just don't want the home or the car or loan anymore. So you can do that. Whatever you're going to do, you're going to list it. Now, if you'll notice there where it says avoid lien, L-I-E-N, lien, that means that we may be able to cancel it. And that's where we're going to cancel, for example, a credit card judgment on your residence. That's a claim to your property, but we're going to go ahead and cancel it. So anything and everything that has a secured loan, within your statement of intention, we're going to tell what we're going to do with it. If you've got any lease agreements, by the way, again, if you've leased your car or you're leasing something else, please bring that agreement into me when you meet with me, because it may or may not be a lease. The name is not outcome determinative. It depends upon what provisions are in the agreement itself. Now, if you'll notice on here, I declare under penalty of perjury that the above indicates my intention. So it's not that you can't change your mind after we file the petition, but they want to know that you are resolved as to what you want to do with your secured loans as of the date that we file. And there's just more space to complete everything we're going to do with your secured loans and your intention. Now, for most bankruptcies, this Schedule E is going to have the greatest number of pages, because, or excuse me, not the greatest number of pages, but sometimes the greatest number of dollars. If you owe any income taxes, certain income taxes, or if you owe delinquent child support, we're going to list that within this Schedule E of what's called priority claims. Before your unsecured creditors, for example, would be paid any money, the child support would be paid, and certain priority taxes would be paid. Now, in most consumer bankruptcies, this schedule will be blank. If you don't owe any taxes and you don't owe any child support, then this schedule for you will be blank. If you'll notice that within this schedule of priority creditors, they want you and I to tell them, well, what kind of priorities do we have? Domestic support obligations, wages, salaries, and commissions. Let's say you had employees and they were due wages and you hadn't paid them, and then you filed bankruptcy. Well, we'd have to list that as a priority claim. Contributions to employee benefit plans. Let's say you're a plan administrator and you didn't put the money in, or you're the administrator of your own plan and you owe it money. That's a priority claim. We'd list that. We're still on this priority claim business. Well, certain farmers and fishermen, that's undoubtedly not going to apply to you. Deposits by individuals. Let's say you've been in business and you've sold some retail merchandise to one or more people. You've collected the money, but you haven't given the customer the merchandise. Well, those people that you owe that money or product to, they are a priority claimant on your bankruptcy. Death for personal injury while intoxicated. Again, that debt is not going to be dischargeable. So in the next video, we'll start up with unsecured priority claims.